Hey there, internet friends, and welcome to the seventh episode of That Ultimate Video Game List Show. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey from ThatNerdySite.com, and this is the show where each season, me and a panel of friends try to create the ultimate top 20 video game list with two main bits of criteria. Only one game per franchise, and only one game per console. Joining me on this first season, we have three of my fellow nerds from That Nerdy Site, Logan Wilkinson.
How you doing?
Cameron Abbott.
Let's crack open a cold one, boys.
Like the same bit as
It's
last
not my
week
bit
and
anymore.
everything.
It's my opener
It's
now.
the third bit in a row. It's in it 3 times the show now.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing. That's now my bit. Every time. That's not even my bit. That's my
every
intro.
podcast.
That's my intro
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
He has to get used out of the
Frank
soundboard.
Bazzani. Frank, save me.
What's up, nerds?
What's up? So you can find the show each and every week on podcast services and on YouTube. Please rate, review, like, subscribe everywhere you can. Help us conquer the algorithms. If you enjoy what you hear, you can support us on patreon.com/thatnerdysite. The way the show works is like this. For the last 6 weeks, we have taken turns adding games to our list. We've compiled now our top 20 video games of all time with the criteria I mentioned earlier, only one game per franchise and only one game per console. So for the next few weeks, we will get to ranking those games, 5 games at a time. So welcome to the episode where we are going to rank the bottom of this list, numbers 20 through 16. At the end of everything, the number one game gets retired into our Hall of Fame. So just as a recap to give you the list of games that we are ranking in order that they were submitted, we have Persona 4 Golden on the PlayStation Vita, Final Fantasy VI from the Game Boy Advance, The Last of Us from the PS3, BioShock Xbox 360, God of War 2018 for the PS4, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 Sega Genesis, Pokemon Soul Silver Nintendo DS, Super Mario Galaxy 2 on the Wii, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, PlayStation 1, Mass Effect 2, Xbox One, Portal 2, PC, computer, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, Dreamcast, Grand Theft Auto Vice City on the PlayStation 2, The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, Wii U, Earthbound on the Super Nintendo, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice on the Switch, Tetris Effect for PlayStation VR, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic on the original Xbox, James Bond 007 Nightfire on the GameCube, and Mega Man 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So, after last week's episode, I kind of told everybody to go through and kind of rank these lists for themselves to see kind of where the games ended up as kind of a talking point. We've also gone through and kind of talked about a little bit how many of these games like everybody has played, or which games like only one or two of us have played. We've kind of got some of that marked. Cameron, I don't think, has marked his notes in the doc, but so that's kind of where we're gonna jump off from. So I'll just kind of quickly to start off the conversation. My 20 through 16.
What's your number? I think you're just doing number 20.
Just a
What's
number
your-
20.
I think we might be able to agree on 20.
So
I don't know if we will.
for me, in particular, there are only 2 games on this list that I've not played: James Bond 007 Nightfire and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. As a result, like those 2 are both near the bottom of my list. In particular, sorry, Logan, I got to go with James Bond 007 Nightfire. I think
Don't feel sorry
when I
about
look
that.
at this list, it very much feels like an outlier, much more driven by, as we discussed a lot last week, your passion for this game, especially for this game over something like a GoldenEye. But I would have personally, just because GoldenEye is the one I've played, I would sooner see GoldenEye on the list, either the Wii or the N64 version, over something that I have not touched myself. So yeah, James Bond 007 Nightfire is what I have at the bottom of my list. What does everybody else look like?
I think it's funny that you had mentioned that the 2 that you hadn't played, kind of because of that, kind of like dropped down to the bottom. Where when I was making mine, the ones that I haven't played still, just kind of based on my knowledge or my feeling of it, kind of went above some other games.
Oh, and that's like if I imagine if like I hadn't played The Last of Us, I would have taken that same thing into account. I mean, my bottom 3, because I did do a little bit, like I like Sonic 2 is my number 19, and I have played that one. I just don't think it's a good game. So it's like James Bond 007 Nightfire, Sonic 2, and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 are like the bottom of my list. And I understand that there is a certain reverence out there for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, but I don't see it personally. Just even with that reverence, like in mind, I don't see that higher than most of the other things that I think I see on this list.
Okay, so I went around a bit differently, because like you guys said, I didn't mark the ones that I had played, because I didn't know that was a thing that was happening.
No, it's a thing I threw in right before we started doing the call. So
okay,
so yeah.
So this is the thing. I took 5 games that I would see at the bottom of my list. I don't have them equaled out to like what would be my number, 20 to 15, or 20 to 15 in this case.
16.
16? Yeah, there we go. Thank you. I'm like, I don't think it's 15, it's 16, right? And it's like, yeah. All right. So what I did is I took my bottom 5, I put them down here, and I'm looking at them, and I'm trying to look at them more objectively rather than just like, yeah, these are the ones that I think they should go on. My number 20 is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. And I've made my points as to why I thought that, why I think that. I don't think I have to rehash them, and we can just move on.
That point being that you didn't like the art style. So because you did not like the art style of this game, you vehemently are arguing against that more than the James Bond game you laughed at Logan's face multiple times in last week's episode.
Listen, so here's the thing. I felt like also I was way too harsh on Nightfire as like a game that I haven't played.
It's really
like it's like I haven't played it. It's a bit harsh. I don't know. I looked up the reviews. It was really well reviewed for the time. I'm thinking, maybe Logan had some ground to stand on.
Yeah.
Was it shaky ground? For sure. But like, am I gonna penalize him by saying his game's worse than the halfway aborted art style that makes up Wind Waker? No.
Here's the thing. My number 20 game is Pokemon Soul Silver.
Cool. I love how I like super defended you, Logan, and this is how you do me. Never mind. Nightfire's my 20.
No, like here's the thing. Like, I didn't say Tetris Effect. Bring it down a few notches.
If it was Tetris Effect, if you said Tetris Effect was 20, I would end this podcast. Yeah. I would say I'm out. Like, screw you.
Here's the thing. Like, and I've been very on the record numerous times. The fact that like I think people are too like generous to a lot of these old Nintendo franchises. I think they view them through the lens of like nostalgia tinted glasses, right? Like, I think a lot of the bottom 5 is going to be under that criticism, kind of irregardless of console. But I think like I've never thought Pokemon has been that particularly great. I think it's a series that has always been largely kind of the same thing for 20 years. And people like it because they like Pokemon, because they like Pokemon when they were kids. I say something very similar about Zelda. I think Zelda are actually like entertaining games. I think Pokemon, they're fine video games, but like I don't particularly think that there's anything particularly amazing about any Pokemon game. And like I think that it's something that, again, can be said about a lot of these games that might be in the bottom 5, or at least a few of them. But like I'm just so sick and tired of Pokemon and everybody being in everybody's face about it. Like, the series isn't as good as you think it is. And like I'm just like, again, like this is slowly turning into just like Logan just making enemies in the industry here. over like Zelda opinions.
I'm glad that this podcast is like your way of saying I have no
Logan
intention of being
blackballing himself, right?
You have no intention of being part of the video game industry after this. I understand this is your the ground you stand on.
The hot take fueled one last year, but like I think like the thing for me with Pokemon is that like I think it's an important series. I think it brings people in to like have a passion and interest for like RPGs and Japanese games in general, and just a passion for Pokemon, which is, and like the anime, the manga, anything. It's all great. I think the problem is that like I think the game itself just isn't as good as you think it is. And I think if you like were to step into this game now in 2019 and play it, how good would it legitimately be? Or if you were to play it as like an adult in 2003 or 4 or 5 whenever it came out. And like the answer is that like I don't know, but I don't think you'd think it would be amazing necessarily, right? Like I think how a game ages over time has to be some sort of a determinant factor in deciding the ultimate video game list. And I think that like,
hey Logan, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but how old do you think Pokemon Soul Silver is?
I have no idea.
It came out in 2009.
Yeah, but it's a remake of a much older game.
Sure.
Yeah. But like I think that That's my thing. So if I have my like bottom three listed out where it is Pokemon Soul Silver, Nightfire, and then Sonic 2, right? And like I think the thing for me is that like I think why I have Sonic 2 and why I have Nightfire above it is that all three games have flaws, and in some cases big ones. Weird enough, I think Nightfire is the least flawed of the three games. But I think that Sonic is, yes, there's always a block of people like Trevor who are just gonna like Sonic, which is totally fine. It's a very flawed game. But I think it at least went out and tried to do something really cool and fun and different, and whether or not it succeeded or to what degree it succeeded is totally open for debate. But like, at least without it being like, we're doing crazy shit for like 1991 kid mascot video game kind of things. Like, it was trying to be fun and trying to be something different, and it might not have landed for that, but I appreciate the ambition. Whereas for me, every Pokemon game has been the same since Red and Blue. It's like one or two tweaks that they've all been the same video game, and I didn't like the video game in 1997, 1996, 1998. Like, I didn't like it then, so like, let alone 20 years later. Like, I think we just view this series again, everything involving Nintendo, I think we view with kid gloves on. And I think if, like, Trevor always talks about how, like, if this thing came out, or if this game or movie or whatever came out that wasn't part of a series, we'd view it differently. And in particular, he talks a lot about Mega Man 2, how, like, if it was a game that came out nowadays, we'd rip this game apart. And I think, in a similar vein, if we just put out a Zelda game, but called it Boy in a Green Tunic, right? Like, I think it would get ripped apart and it would not be in the same way as it was because it's a Zelda game. I think put a Pokemon game and called it like Furry Creatures, the video game, it'd be viewed differently. Like, I think these games are viewed.
I was gonna say, if you call it like Digimon or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, right? But like, I think they're viewed differently because they're Nintendo games, which is like fine because like people like them because they like them when they're kids. But also, like, when you're trying to like somewhat objectively view them, I think leads to problems. I think it leads to, like, I think it's why, like, for me personally, I think there's a lot of revisionist look back at like, oh man, like, this Zelda game maybe actually wasn't a 10, like Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword. Like, maybe it wasn't actually as we thought it was, kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, because you just needed time to recognize the fact that it was flawed when you think it was, right? And like, I think me and Trevor are way ahead of the curve in Breath of the Wild, but like, I think we're right on that game, and I'll die on that hill. But like, I think part of the issue is that like, it's what people always wanted a Zelda game to be like, and now they're getting it. And like, I still think it's very flawed, but like, just even being somewhat like that game makes them happy, right? And like, what a Pokemon game should be is a giant open world, cool, sprawling Pokemon game. That sounds fun and entertaining. What doesn't sound fun is that like 8th iteration of the same game. And like, I think these games can have so much more personality to them than they have. I think they can have so much more life to them than they have. I think they can have so much more of an ability to be an exciting depiction of what it is like to be in that world with those characters, with those Pokemon, right? And like, I think it's number 20 because out of all of the games in the bottom 5, it has so much potential to be great. I just don't think they've ever lived up to it, and I'm just tired of it, and it's boring. People need to actually critically view these games. Cool. That's my
cool
thing.
Everything you said applies directly to Sonic, and even more so. Sonic 2 is, if that game came out today, as it is, the same way you said this about Pokemon, if that game came out today, it would be the hottest pile of fat garbage that exists to mankind's knowledge. That game would be torn apart. That's
such a hyperbolic statement.
So is almost everything you had. Anyway, sorry.
I don't think that's true at all. I think everything I said was Pokemon was very measured and like viewed in a neutral vein. I didn't say it was a hot piece of garbage that mankind's never seen before. I said I think these games are overrated.
I was far more honest about Sonic 2 and how it should be reflected. I apologize. Sorry.
Like, I don't think Pokemon Soul Silver is a bad video game by any means. I think it's just a video game that like on this list is the one that like is the most disappointing to me.
That's great. Sonic
it's just
2
the same Pokemon
has
game.
always been one. Sonic has always been one of the. I'm not angry or I don't hate Sonic, but that's because I've always thought Sonic was just such a sad franchise. It's a sorry franchise that has never, ever come close to just even licking the dirt left in the footprints of the games that came around at the same time. Sonic
I mean,
2
Sonic
isn't
isn't
even the
Mario.
best
Like, I don't
Sonic
think-
game.
It's not. I
Sonic
agree to- I
2
agree to that.
is Sonic 2 is a barely like there's so much about Sonic 2 that is just say like to say Sonic 2 is better than Pokemon Soul Silver when Pokemon Soul Silver is a remake and a better version. So here's one of the biggest reasons why Pokemon Soul Silver and Heart Gold were made. Because the original cartridges of Silver and
Nintendo
Gold,
and the Pokemon company.
Yeah,
no,
like,
so
like-
this is the actual
Yeah.
reason. One of the biggest reasons why why Game Freak wanted to remake it, because people couldn't go back and play the Game Boy versions because the Game Boy versions had inside of them batteries that operated the night and day cycle, and if those batteries died, the game wouldn't work.
That's
Yeah, but what does that mean?
You don't get a pass on that because they could have digitized the game and found the same solution, and they now have. Well, I guess they haven't done Silver and Gold, but they put red, blue, and yellow on the Switch, and Nintendo.
They did that. They did that with
if they
Gold and
really
Silver
wanted
on the
to make a
3DS.
solution and be consumer facing, they could have been like, "Hey, sorry, we fucked up and gave you guys bad cartridges that were not gonna last the test of time and batteries that were not gonna last the test of time. Here, we will indefinitely go ahead and have an extended warranty on that." They could have done that. Using that as an argument for why those games should be remade, I don't buy it.
So Trevor,
it is
to
a
your
remake.
point.
They remade those games because Fire Red and Leaf Green sold really well.
Sure,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
one reason.
I back you up on
Another,
that.
I also don't understand what is but also that has nothing to do with the game's quality.
that's
I don't
not
give a
what
shit
I
how
was
the game
trying.
made.
So I'm trying to get across here. I apologize. I lost where I was at because of that leap. So the point I was trying to make is that this was to Trevor, to your point, it has been digitized. The original Gold and Silver are available on the 3DS.
I played it as a ROM before it ever came stateside, so
Yeah.
I know it's been digitized, or the original one, yeah.
Sure. But the point I'm trying to make is that they could have just done a leaf green, fire red thing and just been done with it. But instead they went the extra mile, they put a lot more features and they did more with it. Pokemon Gold and Silver, the originals, implemented things like day and night cycles, introduced Pokemon that would act only show up during those days or nights. It introduced more complexities to the game in a second gen series than most second sequels do, including Sonic. Sonic 2.
I mean, I think I strongly disagree with that. Right?
Sonic 2 does. They introduced Tails.
I don't give a shit about not even Sonic 2, but I think the statement that it does more than most sequels do. I think it's grossly inaccurate. I think the leaps that Assassin's Creed 2 to 1 to 2 made, or Uncharted 1 to 2 make, or these kind of other things, Mass Effect 1 to 2. I think they take way bigger leaps. And if you put Pokemon Soul Silver in front of me and Red and Blue in front of me, I'd be like, these games there's a sequel. I can see things are different, but it is a Pokemon game. It's not it's not some transformative moment here that has occurred. It's a day and night cycle, which is cool. There's more Pokemon, which is cool. It is not the same. It's not some giant leap forward for that series. I don't feel at all. And again,
it's an incredible
it's
leap
so
forward.
close, that series, that it's just. I think this series itself is inherently flawed.
Yeah, I think that's part of the I think that's probably going to be the crux of your argument. Is that you think that series is inherently flawed? I think the concept of Sonic is inherently flawed.
I think the concept of Sonic is really cool. I think the concept of this character who just always goes.
He goes fast. That's what he
all
does.
about
Sonic goes
speed.
fast. Oh, he likes chili
Yeah, but I
dogs,
think
except that was something added by the American animated series and is not even
that-
actually
like,
part of
you-
Sonic's original personality that you get in Sonic
You don't
2.
get to make a point and then undermine the point that you made just because you made it just to undermine it. So the chili dog thing is moot. Sonic was a platformer. Sonic was a different approach to a platformer at the time it came out. It was
I
you
think
had
its
Mario
concept
and
of Sonic is cool. I think his execution is maybe not there, sure, but I think the concept is a cool idea of just always going fast, all about speed is a dope idea. Again, ultimately, I also think the fact that the people me and Cam's opinions are clear. I want to hear Frank just in general give his games. But B, me and Cam are where we are. It's gonna be a Trevor and Frank coming in to decide here. But Frank, what do you think? Where are you at in your headspace?
Oh man, I guess I feel like this is going to be a hot take after what's already been said about number
Frank's got
20.
another game he thinks is number 20. Actually,
Yeah. I guess I don't know if
it's a,
go ahead.
it's a 4-way tie for number 20.
I already kind of like Trevor. I kind of made my own list ahead of time, and I was just trying to compare it against it or whatever I thought it should be, or kind of my personal opinion. And for me, the number 20 on that list was very easily Mega Man 2.
Wow. Okay.
So 4-way tie for the worst game on the list. Amazing.
So I am going to say I appreciate that all 4 of the games that we've discussed are in my 20 through 16. Pokemon Soul Silver is my 17, and Mega Man 2 is my 16. So
all 4 of them I mentioned are in mine.
3 of those mentioned here are.
I imagine Pokemon's on there, but
yeah.
I just think that like and for me number 19 was then Sonic 2. Like I kind of, when it comes down to those two, I just try to think of it as like, what would I think is going back to it right now, what would be more fun, what would I rather play, and what would I enjoy more? And to me that is definitely Sonic 2
over Mega Man 2.
Yeah, over Mega Man 2, which is why Mega Man 2 for me is just like number 20. Like when I look at this list, and I'm not even trying to sit here and say like it's a bad game, but when I try to compare it against like going back right now, playing any of these games and just trying to experience it and enjoy it and even just have fun, like I feel like you're gonna have the worst time with Mega Man 2. Like it's just gonna like. Do you get what I'm going for here though? Like,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
I would say, especially for like the 4 of us, who do not necessarily. Well, I guess I don't know. Like Cameron might love Dark Souls. I don't. Think
I do love Dark Souls, but that's besides.
Okay, so Cameron, loving dying endlessly, he might have a good time going back and playing Mega Man 2. But I think the rest of us would just get frustrated and angry and be like, "Fuck this! I want to go to the game 19 on the list."
So let me. I'd rather put that in reverse. But Trevor, what did you say your number 20 was?
My 20 was Nightfire.
Cool. I'm agreeing with Trevor. Nightfire has 2 votes.
I'm not gonna throw it out like that necessarily, because obviously we've, I think, all talked shit about Sonic 2. So the fact that Sonic 2 is my 19 doesn't mean I can't say okay, yeah. Like we've all discussed our distaste of Sonic 2. Like that could easily be the 20 on this list, as it's in like everybody's bottom
it's
couple
18 for me. Yeah.
So it like this is. Admittedly, this is something that I'm sure we'll refine as the show continues to grow, figuring out how to actually like handle the voting and the ranking. But so I guess putting it like on the table right now, are we like?
Should we just say what we think the 5 games
people's,
are?
yeah.
Like what we think the 5 games are that we want on the bottom 5?
I think saying Sonic 2, like, does any here's we can do like this. Does anybody object to Sonic 2 being number 20?
No.
I do not.
No, honestly,
Sonic
I don't
2
think.
That's the bottom of the list, and there we go.
Okay.
All right.
I think it's an easy way to do that because I feel like on the same page. The bigger question now is like, again, now we just push this fight there with like, what is number 19? Because again, I'm just shifting it down, but it's like I'm gonna again say Pokemon Soul Silver. I think should be 19. Like I still think all the arguments made are true, and now you've taken Sonic off the board. So it's like,
okay. Well, I
still think it's Pokemon.
I think Mega Man 2 is worse than that. So.
I 100% agree with that. Like, I haven't played the Soul Silver remake on DS in particular, but I did have played the original, and I imagine that it's quite kind of true to that. And like, kind of even to your point earlier, we were talking about all Pokemon games are the same, and I get why that could be a detriment to the series, but that's also why I feel comfortable kind of backing it up and saying that it's a good game, because it at least has like some minimum level of quality or substance based on...
I mean, I could very easily make the case that Mega Man 2 has some level of quality and substance to it. But that's beside the point. I've already written down as 19 on my list. It's like Mega Man 2. We're like, yeah, so we'll say Mega Man 2 is 19 then.
All right.
It works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Trevor, where are you at next? What's your 18?
So yeah,
new 18,
my
I guess,
18 would have been my new 18 Nightfire is still the bottom of my list of what's left.
Cameron, what's your 18?
My 18 would be probably Nightfire, probably.
Frank, where are you at?
I totally agree with Nightfire. I'm totally cool with that.
Okay, so we're gonna. I mean, like, so it doesn't matter. I've already lost the argument.
And any parting words for Nightfire?
Yeah, I mean, like, absolutely. Like, Nightfire is an absolutely better game than any Pokemon game out there. Like, I'm like, I'll die on this hill. Like, I'll absolutely on this hill. Like, it's like the thing. Like, again, like, I've lost the votes already in. Like, it's already 18. Clearly, like, it doesn't matter. Which, to be fair, like, it was 18 my list. But like, I think that we're just delaying an inevitable fight that is just pointless because, like, I'm not letting Pokemon get out of this episode. It's a joke, but it's like it's a flawed, broken series that is absurd. And if it came out today, nobody would play it and it wouldn't be likable. But like, yeah, for Nightfire, like for Final Word Nightfire, like I think Nightfire, everything I said last episode, you can watch the whole thing there where I had to defend it for 20 minutes anyway against Cam.
Which I was mostly playing devil's advocate on it. I was just
I think Nightfire is fun. I think it is very reflective of that time. I think it's quirky. I think it's weird. I think its multiplayer is great. Like I think it's a game that just like it's a game that makes you just have fun and enjoy yourself. And I think that it is the best Gems Unlimited game. And I think it is also one that ultimately, if you look at video games through the prism of like, am I enjoying myself or am I having fun through like that lens? I think Nightfire is one that you always come back and say yes. And so, I mean, but like, it is number 18.
It's your passion has made me definitely interested in playing it. If I can find anywhere to play this game,
I don't know if you can play it anywhere but PS2. Like
it's on GameCube.
Maybe it's okay, but like
you chose it for GameCube, so
yeah. But like that's what I meant. Like that era. Like I don't know if they did it as like a PS3.
I wonder if it's backwards compatible on the Xbox One.
That's interesting.
That's actually interesting. Maybe actually, yeah.
On the topic of Nightfire, though, before we move on, I will say that on my personal list, Nightfire was a little bit higher than this. And again, kind of working with the logic of what I said, and even kind of what Logan said, like going back today, right now, how much fun are you going to have? Like, what experience are you going to have? I feel like Nightfire would definitely have some of that, especially for like me, who also likes James Bond and loves the games from that era, like GoldenEye or Everything or Nothing. And while I haven't played Nightfire, kind of like Trevor said, I'm kind of really interested to go back and give it a try, honestly.
I think at the very least, like if the four of us got together and did like the multiplayer aspect of that game, we'd have a ton of fun. It'd be so much fun to play for that.
I swear, Logan, I swear to God, if we ever do that, if for like an anniversary stream or something, do that,
I would love
and that
to
game sucks, I'm going to be so pissed off at you.
No.
I'm going to be so furious at you. Granted, I want it to be known, I was pushing up against you on that because I felt like if we didn't push up against you on it, for choosing, because I think Nightfire is probably a fine video game, but if we didn't, I felt like we had to justify to the masses. The uneducated masses, as they might be, in consideration towards Nightfire.
I am giving you no grief for pushing on Nightfire. I expect the push. That's why I waited, and then it was like, when nobody's gonna veto, I can pick any game I want now. It's like I'm just gonna walk in the front door and take the candy and leave. It's like I can just do what I want.
You did it. You did it, and then you let Mega Man 2 stand afterwards.
Mega Man 2, I like Mega Man 2. It's the irony is like if you'd like on my list, I had Mega Man 2 higher than Nightfire, but it's like all right, like it's fine, like. That's the one where it's like, I'll let Mega Man 2 slide to get Nightfire up a slide higher. Absolutely. Fucking Mega Man 2. Doesn't mean shit to me. I like the game a lot, but it's like, now if you ask me to pick, like, I'm going to see how high I can ride Nightfire on this list. Absolutely. Let's ride that pony.
That's totally fair.
All the people angry.
Yeah, no, I also think that, like, I knew walking in with, like, Wind Waker at my number 20, like, that was never going to be the case. That was never going to happen that way.
That was gonna be a hard sell to this crowd.
I was not. I knew it wasn't a hard sell. That's an impossible sell to this crowd.
I knew you were gonna come in with that, though. I knew it.
I didn't think it'd be number 20. I thought it'd be in the bottom 5. I did not think it'd be 20.
You guys underestimate just like how much I like. It's not even that I hate. Like, so it's one thing is that I hate the game. The second thing I hate is that it is the game everybody like jerks off about before Breath of the Wild came out. Like the amount of like,
I feel like that's Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
Or Link to the Past.
Exactly.
Yeah. Link to the Past. I would say Ocarina of Time.
I would agree. Like I feel like Wind Waker has pretty much consistently been in that like people like it or hate it kind of like in that mindset.
You just didn't grow up with the people
And-
I grew up with. That's all.
And there,
Maybe
no,
that's
I
it,
would
yeah.
definitely say there are a lot of people that came around on that game over time, who were originally put off or whatnot. I mean, like Colin Moriarty would always talk about like the revisionist history of Wind Waker and people hating that art design and then coming around to it, and like I don't think he's completely wrong on that. I just tend to fall into like I enjoyed that game when it came out, and never like got fed into the backlash against the art style and all that stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't part of any discussions. Like I was surrounded by people who thought the art style was awesome, and I didn't understand it. I felt like if anybody's ever seen Parks and Recreations, the way that
Everybody feels about Little Sebastian.
Yeah, everybody loves Little Sebastian, and like Ben just does not get it. Like I'm Ben.
Yeah.
I'm Ben in this ocean of people who are like, I love the design, and then like talking about it and how it's like the most underrated Zelda game, yada yada yada. And I'm just like, I just had to sit there because I was alone. I was alone, an island in this ocean of people who love Wind Waker, much like the islands in Wind Waker are alone in the ocean.
Okay, so do we have any other games to add to this conversation now that we're up into like 17? Because the other things that have been thrown out there so far, like I threw out Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, but I know some of you guys enjoy that game significantly more than I do. So like if that survives another day, I'm fine with that. But yeah, my next game below that is Pokemon Soul Silver. So
Hey.
is there
We're there.
anything else to be added into the
I'll
conversation?
absolutely fight. Yeah, Tony Hawk over.
I'll
Pokemon
put this into it. Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Get the fucking like
All right.
wrecked.
So Cameron just hates Logan's picks, is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
like, that's a wild pick. Get out of here.
Sonic 2, 007,
I haven't played
Super
Super Mario Galaxy 2. It's towards the end because I've never played it. Also, I
You
don't.
played Galaxy 1 though, right?
Yeah, I didn't beat it, but I played a chunk of it.
Whatever. That's an interesting pick.
I'm guessing Super Mario Galaxy 2 is going to survive another day. But Frank, what are some of your other games at the bottom of your list?
Yeah, these for me, the last two kind of on the list in this area would be Pokemon Silver, and I don't want to get a lot of like hate for this, but I have Symphony of the Night in my bottom 5.
Symphony of the Night for me is my 15, so it just misses my bottom 5. So it's like
I'm also
so
on that train.
both of those I'm ultimately fine like kind of putting in there.
I mean, Kill Your Baby.
Yeah,
Tim,
that's what I was going to say. This is Kill My Baby.
Soul Silver. I feel like Soul Silver is definitely getting a lot of like we're at a point with it now, kind of thing.
No, it's true. We're at the
put-
point where it passes it on Trevor's list. It definitely passes it on your list, and we're at this point with
Frank, I
Frank's
think, mentioned
list.
it too,
So I
yeah.
think I just have to
Yeah.
accept that, like, I've avoided like. Do I,
I mean,
feel?
you gave it a hell of a fight.
We're still saying it's the 17th best game of all time.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, like you gave
And
it a hell of a
I
fight.
take
here,
solace
like-
in that. I also take solace in that
Yeah.
it beat out like games that are considered classics like Sonic 2 and Mega Man 2, and it also beat out
Yeah, absolutely,
Logan's personal baby, Nightfire. So I'll take that.
Yeah.
Granted, I've now
All right.
lost 2 of my picks in the.
I've lost 2 of my picks too. It's me. And
Oh
you
yeah,
guys.
that's just the 2 of us. That's it.
Yeah,
But
Frank and I
here's the thing,
picked really good games, you guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Here's the thing: long term, I mean, you just have games that long term will be very high on the list. It's like I'm willing to like sacrifice these guys for later on, but it's like we definitely are the ones getting wrecked right now for sure.
That is true.
You guys also I think deliberately picked some of like
We did, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted more fun, eclectic games to get.
our number 20 game, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, was your second choice, Logan. It's the second game out the gate that you came out of.
I told you months before the show ever happened, I was going to pick Sonic 2.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
Like, I made it very clear.
I just didn't think you were going to pick it that early.
Yeah.
Sonic 2 is a game I thought we would see come around in like game 5 or round 5 or 6 from you.
My concern was that somebody's going to try to pick a Genesis game, so I was like, I want to make sure I can get in front of this.
and that's a really weird
I don't
concern
check
to
it.
have had.
I want to make sure I can get in front of that boat and make sure I'm getting the Genesis
I was
game
so
here.
concerned
Like,
somebody was going to pick from the Genesis.
yeah, it sounds like I had to make sure that I cover my bases here.
He had to get there
And make
before I
sure-
could pick Altered Beast.
Exactly, that's the thing. I was like, somebody on this panel is gonna be some weird ass fucking Altered Beast stan, and I can't have that. Like because like they're out there. These Altered Beast weirdos are just out there walking through among. It's like, look, fam, it ain't it. All right, give me my Sonic shout out and step off. All right.
I'm sorry.
I was so concerned.
You were
about
so
that.
concerned about the Genesis, and that was like the furthest thing from
pick
anything
Altered
I'd
Beast
pick.
or some weird shit like that. Yeah.
Skitchin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Frank. See, I was worried about fucking Frank. Some guy like Frank with deep cut Genesis picks out here. And it's like, I can't have that. I can't let this be the thing. I can't. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Like, you didn't have to worry about that from Trevor or I. You had to worry about that from
Yeah.
Frank.
It was that with the Genesis, and then it was also the NES where he was worried that I was going to pick Platoon.
Yeah. The Genesis, I mean, like the NES, I really wanted Dr. Mario. It'll be forever my like great.
You're the one that eliminated Dr. Mario from the running.
Mario Galaxy 2 is a better game, but like, damn, Dr. Mario is the best NES game. It slaps.
I'm guessing you put Super Mario Galaxy out there thinking you could still do Dr. Mario as a spin-off down the line.
I knew I wouldn't, but I was just like, I wanted, like, I was like, maybe I could, but like, I figured I couldn't, but it's like, it was worth it because I love Galaxy 2, but we've got as an aside, we've got 4 of our 5 games here. We're down to
We did it.
what is the fifth? What is number 16 going to be now?
Now, hear me out.
I really have no idea at this point.
Hear me out. Wind Waker.
I still stand with Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
I'm
one.
going to try to do from here on out. I am dragging Wind Waker as far low as I possibly can on this list. That's my number one goal.
And our number one game, and the one that's retired to the Hall of Fame, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.
You
Weird,
know that's
man.
not happening. You know that's not
support
happening
that.
with this list.
I feel like it's what's interesting too, Frank, is that like I feel like me and you. I feel like I could see Cameron and Trevor maybe wanting Tony Hawk here, and me and you saying Symphony of the Night. Because me and you will push Tony Hawk as high as we can get it.
Definitely, and I definitely
Let's be
think
clear about that.
I
I think Symphony of the Night. Like,
Au contraire, my friend. I don't want Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 here.
I mean, it's your nominee. That's why I was asking. Like, do you want Symphony of the Night to be right here?
What I think probably should be here, and I'm saying this objectively, I know it's my favorite game of all time, but I think objectively in this list of juggernauts, like here's the thing, I would put, these are the games I would put there before I named this game. I would probably put Earthbound there. I would probably put GTA Vice City there. Portal 2. Let me list this list, and I'll get to what I'm actually going to be I'm saying we should put there. And Super Mario Galaxy 2 there. But I think what should go there, based on the caliber of games we're talking about, my personal feelings aside, I think Tetris Effect should go here.
So I actually had Tetris Effect 16 on my list, but I was like, but Cam's going to fight that, and I'm totally fine to let it go. If you're saying it should be 16, I have it 16. Like, I'm totally...
I understand
I have
to
no
the...
beef.
As much as, like, as important as those games are to me as Tetris Effect is to me.
I love Tetris, yeah, but it's
as
like,
much as like I've cried tears while playing Tetris Effect because it's just so good and so beautiful. To say to put it up against the rest of these, I think beating out the game, kind of I would probably put up there as like quote unquote riffraff of of our top 20 list, like the last bottom 4. And I think rounding out the bottom 5 with a quality pick that am I hurting myself here? Am I here just killing my babies? Is this episode just Cameron killing his babies?
Yeah.
Because I think we are. Because I think Symphony of the Night does deserve to be higher up on the list than Tetris Effect.
Legitimate.
It hurts me to do it.
We're at the point now where, like, again, like the bottom 4 are the ones where it's like you can kind of have beef with, but now we're at a point to where it's like these are just legitimately like great games, and like I think I think it's very big of you. It's a legitimate argument. Like I think. I mean, I'll agree, and I'll say that I think Tetris Effect is great. Like, I think both can be true.
I'm just given that like both of these in the conversation right now, Castlevania Symphony of the Night and Tetris Effect are Cam's games. It indicates to me that like we might be kicking off next week's episode with one or the other, whichever one we don't pick here.
Sure.
And then Cam's only remaining game on the list is going to be BioShock.
Yeah, but that's
That'll be
also
my placing.
That
That's
game
like
is right in the list pretty high. Like,
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I don't doubt that. I'm just saying it's also like it is just my observation that
Pick better games, Cam.
Cameron picked a lot of bad games.
Yeah.
well, no, I don't think any game like outside of because even if you really want to talk about it, like is Sonic 2 better than like the majority of video games that have ever been made and put out there? Probably. It's on the Genesis, especially.
These are all good. We all like these games. They're all good games. But like, yeah, like
the only game on here on this list that I actually don't like at all, and I don't think should be on here, is Wind Waker. That's it. But
Such
I'm objectively
Waker,
like when you look at it, like I know I'm wrong.
I want the Wind Waker stands to come out at Cam so hard.
Listen, they can come at me all they want. I know who they are. They're all my friends. Like I know
all of my friends and family and loved ones are Wind Waker stands.
Like I know who they are. Like here's the thing. Am I wrong? Probably. There's no way this game can be so universally loved, and the people who I notice who don't like the art or who hate the art style as much as me probably aren't the best people.
Is it? Am I wrong? Definitely. But you know what? It's what I think here. I'm going down with the ship.
Yeah, it's
Wind
like
Waker,
objectively, is Wind Waker a bad game? Probably not. People wouldn't play it if it was.
I will. I'll throw this out there. I had Tetris Effect at number 10 on my list, so it was much higher. You're not just so you're not dying alone on a hill, Cam. I very much enjoy that game. I think it is one of the I'm speaking even outside of the PSVR element of it because I played it mostly just on my PS4 without like pulling out my VR set. But the VR in particular does like add a very extra immersive level to it, just having the sensory overload of all of the beautiful imagery and an audio soundscape kind of like surrounding you, playing it in VR. Very good. And just at its core, it's Tetris, which is a game that has, is certainly one of the most iconic in the medium. So it just falls higher. And it's not one of those that has like incredible story behind it or whatever. It is a gameplay kind of game. But yeah, it is. So it cracked my top 10. So of these two that we're discussing, Castlevania Symphony of the Night was my 15. So I would see it here in the 16 slot over Tetris Effect personally.
I feel like it came in I feel like you're kind of the one who can make the call here. Honestly, I feel like we're kind of deferring to you. Would you rather 16 be Symphony of the Night or Tetris Effect? I feel like
Symphony of the Night. You guys have convinced. Like I wanted to put it here because So I do want to say this about Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, give it your piece.
Symphony of the Night is is the first game that is a massive departure from its formula for a series that like in the Castlevania series, it's Belmont versus Dracula. Alucard was an ally in Dracula's Curse in number 3. For him to kind of take this leading role and kind of the story implications behind it, and also the bigger themes that come into it because of that, the theme of patricide, the theme of martyrdom, and in the case of, in Dracula's mind, in Dracula's army, his like mentality, Dracula's wife Lisa was a martyr for like basically just being Dracula's wife, killed her. And for Alucard to say, like, to stand up, it's like, there's a really amazing album, and I would recommend anybody who enjoys Symphony of the Night should go listen to it. One of its co-writers and stars is Megaran, who is, somebody that Trevor and I both know. Phoenix resident, what up? Like, amazing guy, but he co-wrote this album based off of Symphony of the Night. I think you can find it on Spotify. That's usually where I listen to it. And there's an incredible song called Sins of the Father. And it delves into the duality of the relationships between the Belmonts and the Dracula family. But it really delves into the heart of really what a lot of the story about Alucard's story in Symphony of the Night is, which is this idea that he is in pain taking on his father because he knows on some level his father is right, but at the same time, the promises he's made and the decisions he's made and the side that he's taken is the side against his own kind. It's the side against his own family. And it really delves deep in there. The entire album is spectacular because it has another artist as Richter. And it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. But it's a concept album. Man, I love it so much just thinking about it. But I will say Symphony of the Night as a game, but also as a gameplay, what it does, how it works, the boss fight, the monster design, the level design, the inverted castle alone as a concept is just incredible, and it's a breathtaking video game. But I will say that you know what? Here's the thing: if Castlevania Symphony of the Night is that juggernaut at number 16 that says, okay, these first 4, they're legacy games, they're games that, or they're games that, like, for example, Nightfire, Logan's super passionate about and believes should be on this list more than GoldenEye. Totally fair. Like, those are the games that we have here. Soul Silver, etc. But once you get to 16, this is like
bridge. Yeah,
this is where things get serious. And I think
I'm excited. Yeah,
The biggest thing I would highlight on Castlevania Symphony of the Night is that it, kind of echoing back to some of the earlier conversation in this episode, it completely revamped what the formula of Castlevania was. Castlevania, up to this point, was much more of like a hack and slash platform brawler kind of game, and Castlevania Symphony of the Night, like, set the stage for the, one half of the term that is now used as Metroidvania. Like, it is specifically derived from that game and the Metroid series, which was doing that since back on the original Metroid. So, like, the fact that we continue and that element and that type of action adventure game has stood the test of time and has become such a revered subgenre in itself, all stems back to Castlevania Symphony of the Night here. I think that in particular gave the game and the series new life, even if the series wasn't necessarily ultimately going to capitalize on it, because Konami is much more interested in making pachinko games these days than more Castlevania games or whatever. Yeah. But its legacy, well beyond being number 16 on our list, stands as one half of Metroidvania, which I'm trying to think. I don't know if we've got to have. Right? Do we not have any other like Metroidvania-esque games? I guess, like, I would say God of War even is it's a 3D Metroidvania.
100%, I agree with that.
That like came, that its DNA is rooted in some of that.
There are elements of it,
elements
like BioShock and Hellblade 2, obviously.
Yeah. Basically, any of these games where, like, oh, you get a new thing, so now you can unlock and go to other areas and stuff. Like, boom. Right there. So much of that stems from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and that's me as like somebody who didn't play the game when it originally came out. I came to it 4 or 5 years ago now, and really enjoyed it. Having enjoyed so many of the games that like spawned from it, going back and playing kind of that, like, one of those real driving forces. It holds up in the same way. Like, yeah, I might enjoy Ori or Guacamelee better just because the pacing is faster now and they have a more modern aesthetic and style to them. But like Castlevania Symphony of the Night is not at all a bad game. It holds up. No. It stands the test of time. So that's my piece that I would throw on the game.
All right, we did it.
Anybody else? Any other final thoughts here? Because we it sounds like we've got we talked a little bit, I think, before we started recording, that like when I was coming up with my like bottom of the list and the top of the list, like it was relatively easy. I imagine the next couple episodes where we're tackling 15 through 6 are going to be more like ones that are going to be okay, what some really? Because I imagine like we could probably, for the like, if we wanted to have a nice another easy week next week, we could probably just be like, all right, here are our top 5 games, and probably have a pretty comparable, like, there might be some diehards, but I think there are enough games on this list that I think we all see in that upper echelon. I'm the next 2 weeks are a little bit of what I'm dreading the most.
But
at the same point, like all 5 of my games are still on the list, so ha ha ha. Frank and I
are great at picking video games that we learned here.
Yeah. And it's like one of the reasons I kind of wanted to explore a little bit of like who has played what kind of going into this is because I think we saw a lot from like the picks and the selections in particular. Like a lot of us have played games that Logan has not played. Like I think Cameron, Frank, and I have have specific tastes that like specifically more in the like JRPGs or something like that. And so you have Final Fantasy VI, you have Earthbound. Is there another one on there?
You have like
we talked about
Persona.
Chrono Trigger at some point.
Yeah, Persona 4
Persona, yeah.
for sure.
Like, so those are three kind of big heavy hitters, potential heavy hitters, but like Logan hasn't played them, and I don't necessarily want Logan like excluded from the conversation because of that. So just having a sense of who's played what, also helps, I think, inform the conversation. So Sonic being one of those, we've all played it, we all know it's fine, and Mega Man too.
We can all just unanimously agree on Wind Waker and go home.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yep.
I'll
Just
die.
everything
I will
else.
die before it's number
And
one.
season 1 early, Wind Waker's the best game.
Wow, we did it,
Thank
guys.
you
Yeah,
all for
figured it out.
listening.
Like-
Cameron will hate us for all time.
Trev,
Cameron's
you wanna-
involvement with that nerdy site was brief.
Yeah.
The tragedy
Brief but
of
loud. It was boisterous.
brief but loud, like a cry out in the night as he was stabbed to death by all of the Wind Waker stands. That
I mean, like, the tagline for this episode is very much going to be, we all get our revenge on Cameron.
yeah, for real though, just murder.
Revenge for Tony Hawk, justice for Tony Hawk.
Exactly, justice for Tony Hawk. Yeah, that's my audio file now. Trev, you want to do a recap of the 5 games?
Yeah, so our bottom 5 here of our top 20. At number 20, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Sega Genesis. At number 19, Mega Man 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. At number 18, James Bond 007 Nightfire for the GameCube. 17, Pokemon Soul Silver for the Nintendo DS. And 16, Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the original PlayStation. So right now, tackling a whole bunch of older games off this list. I'm not at all surprised by that. I don't think I think very few of us are like, oh, this is a game that came out, as one of the founding building blocks of the industry, so it has to have a higher reverence.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are able to kind of dissociate that nostalgia from that. So, yep. So those are our first 5 games on this list, solidified in their spots. We have 15 more to go. So that's going to do it for this week. Thank you guys for joining me in the often heated conversation. I look forward to as all 5 games were from Logan or Cam. I look forward to future weeks where Frank and I have to start like defending our choices a little bit more, or maybe we just recognize that our games were amazing.
I want you all to feel what I felt in this episode, where I had to kill babies.
Well, I mean, pick better babies, and you won't have to kill them.
Wow,
Really.
Trevor, that's the tag. That's the quote from this episode.
Clearly,
Pick better
the
babies
moral
so
of
that
Better babies, yeah.
the story here.
Turns out
all right.
Trevor's super into eugenics. Didn't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of That Ultimate Video Game List Show. Thank you to the team for joining me. You can follow Logan at Lefty Logie. Anything you want to shout out, Logan?
Yes, but this will go live on Friday.
Yep.
By then, my Mr. Rogers review of It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood will be live. Or Beautiful
Cool,
Day
you
in
said that last week, so...
Hey, you know what? But no, it'll be live. I'm thinking probably Tuesday of the week you're listening to this on. And so expect that. It'll be fun. And then also just other things as well. You can go check out That Won't Be Film Class. Last week we did Inception. That movie's really great and I love it. It's one of my favorite movies. And then this week I will be watching for the first time ever Mad Max Fury Road. And I'm incredibly excited for that to go live, which is the day before this will go live. So check that out as well.
That's a great film. I'm excited to hear what you thought
I'm
about
so
it.
excited.
Yeah, Ben, Chloe, and I talked a little bit about that on when they were plugging it on That Nerdy Site show this week. Specifically, the fact that you picked that movie as one that you've never watched for that podcast. So I was like, and I've been looking around to see if I have it like sitting around in my house somewhere so I can watch it, because that's a damn good movie, and I want to.
I would love to
back
hear
in and
your
watch
thoughts.
it
I'd love to
myself.
talk about that. Yeah, that might be what we talk about this week on That Nerdy.
Yeah,
That's an excellent. I have to say, I love Fury Road. I'm really excited to hear what you guys thought about it.
Yeah. I specifically asked them if either of them were gonna watch like the black and white cut that they did after the fact. I think they're gonna stick with the original though, and I would encourage you to do the same. I think the black and white version is something that you can like appreciate a little bit more if you've seen it, how it was originally produced.
I would not suggest watching black and white on the first go through. You're going to miss
that makes sense.
so much of the beauty of the cut. Like, there's not a lot of color in that film, so when it does come in, it pops really well. So I would say definitely check it out in color for the first time. Second viewing, for sure, black and white's great because you see a lot of details you might have missed otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah. You can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot. Anything you want to shout out, Cameron?
I'm in the middle of writing 2 reviews for that nerdy site right now. Death Stranding review, as well as Frozen 2 review. Frozen 2 should be up soon, I would assume, just because I have some major edits to do on it after some notes that Trevor gave me. But I'll probably be done with that tonight, and then from there, the Death Stranding review is in progress. So
cool. You can follow Frank at Irrelevant Jokes. Anything you want to shout out, Frank?
Yeah, I got a couple projects coming down the pipeline for the site. And stay tuned for that. One thing I do want to throw out there while I have a sec is if anybody who's been listening to the list show or any of the other content wants to see more content about 007 Nightfire, please drop a comment below. I kind of want to do a video about that.
Okay, hell yeah.
So
hell yeah. Absolutely do that, guys.
I've honestly been thinking about this. This is the first time I've mentioned it, just throwing it out there to everyone, including the other co-hosts. But I do want to do some content about that. I think it'd be fun. So if you want to see us play it or something like that, drop a comment below.
Are me and Frank going to be streaming Nightfire here soon, kids?
I think you guys have to have a successful stream first.
A Nightfire full playthrough stream? Is that what's going to happen here?
I mean, I highly doubt that based on the track record that Cameron has alluded to so far. But, if you can get it up and going, like, you have the Twitch login, so knock yourselves out.
How long is an average, like, sit-down game of Chicken Horse?
20 minutes maybe, right? 30 minutes?
Cool.
I was going to say like 10.
How long is
10
Nightfire?
6 hours.
I want you to compare those two. You can't even sit down for a 20-minute game stream.
I mean, not like we can't. Like, it's like we're also in like there's a lot of stuff happening for that. And like we're also busy people.
That's fair.
We will stream this game. Yeah, like
we streamed a full playthrough of Until Dawn. I have faith that like if they can find the game and a working system that they can then hook up through an Elgato.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah,
I'm sure they can. I'm sure they can make it work.
Ooh, maybe actually, yeah, maybe Frank.
If not, we could always like emulate it, I guess, and I could still buy a copy for us to have.
It might actually be on PC. We'll talk about that offline, but I think it might. I'll check.
Well, you guys have fun working that out and figuring that out. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey.
It is on PC.
It is on PC. Okay. I don't think I have anything to plug right now. I might have a review up on the website in the coming week between now and when this goes live. I don't know. I don't want to commit to it though, so won't even bother. You can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site, please, especially as we launch. Like, rate, subscribe, and follow. We're nearing 100 YouTube subscribers, at which point we can go ahead and actually get like youtube.com/thatnerdysite. So if you have not subscribed over there, please do so. That would help us out immensely for branding and all that fun stuff. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you again, everybody, for joining me. And as always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.